Today is February 20th, 2017. My name is Joe Reingold and I'm interviewing Sylvia Greenberg. Sylvia, tell me a little bit about your family, your parents, your grandparents, what you know about them, where were they born, and when did they move to Dallas?
Okay. My parents met while they were briefly in New York. My grandparents came from Poland, and when they got to America, instead of staying in New York, they went straight to Denver, Colorado. So my grandmother had a younger brother who did stay in New York. So they lived in Denver, and I think he was a shoemaker, Pete Schmierman. And then the recession came along, depression came along, and one of his four brothers, the oldest one, had a car, and he drove south until he found Borga, Texas. And in Borga, Texas, the oil fields were pumping, and he said the workmen there have money to buy our goods. So they all packed into his car, I understand, and they moved to Borga. Well, coming from Denver with a Jewish kosher home after being run out of Poland, this was quite a letdown for my mother, who was 17. She had a younger brother and a younger sister. So meanwhile, they learned to live in Borga for a while, and they got invited to the younger brother that lived in New York. They got invited to his wedding in New York City. So evidently the grandmother packed my mother Betty and her sister and brother in the train, and they all went to New York for this wedding. And while there, she met my daddy. My mother was shorter than I am. I'm 5 feet. She was shorter than me. She met this man who was like 5'2". And
Perfect.
He fell in love immediately. Mm-hmm. And after 3 weeks, they got married in New York. Mm. So meanwhile, since she was only 17 and too young to leave her mother, he gets on the train with the mother and the grandparents and the brother and sister, and all come to Texas. So this 5'2" gentleman discovered heaven when he got to Texas. As soon as he could, he bought boots. He had the hat. He always smoked a big cigar. He had this terrible Russian accent, and he loved it here.
And they were in Borga again?
No, well, they may have been in Borga. I don't know. I think what happened is that as the oil fields peter out, they would go to a new one. So then they must have gone on to East Texas by then, and settled in a town called Arp, Texas. Arp, A-R-P, is like a suburb of Tyler.
Okay.
And they have a lot of the rose gardens there that Tyler roses come from. So evidently I was born in Henderson, Texas, which is where the hospital was. But we had lived in Arp. And my mother's little sister was only 7 years older than me, and so she was like my playmate the whole time until I was 5. When I was 5, the entire family again picked up by this grandfather, grandmother, everybody, moved to Monahans, Texas, which is in West Texas, 30 miles west of Odessa. And they lived there, I don't know, I think I started elementary school there. I got kicked out of first grade, unfortunately. Essie, my aunt,
Bad behavior?
I guess. Essie, played with me, taught me to read and write and do all that stuff. They didn't have kindergarten there, so I went straight to first grade. But she didn't teach me how to behave exactly. And I would cry over recess. I guess I would eat my lunch over recess, and then lunchtime came, I didn't have any lunch. And so after 2 weeks, the teacher says, please take her home, let her come when she's 6. This was at 5.5. And in between, I guess I learned enough because I went on to first grade again. And then I skipped to 3rd. And then the Texas schools at the time only had 11 grades. Essie, this aunt of mine, graduated at 15. I graduated at 16. Besides the grades you skip, they skipped everybody. And they did that because the rest of the country was 12 grades and Texas was only 11 grades. And it was still in Granada State, so that they needed the workers for the farms and the whatever. So that's how we ended up back in Odessa. Then from Odessa, I went to college. First of all, in Odessa, I will tell you one more thing about me, because I told you my daddy left Texas and horses and the whole thing. So he bought me a horse, which we kept in the backyard. And I really hated that horse. I just didn't like it at all, But he liked it, so. And they were active in, what was it they called, sheriff's posse, which is a charity type of thing. They ride the horses in the parade and collect money for
right.
whatever. And so I did have that course. And then my daddy said, I want you to be a violinist. So we got a violin, and I went down the block to the violin teacher, whom I think I paid more attention to than my mother and father even. And I ended up playing the violin the whole time. And then in high school, I played the flute in the band. And we had no counselors there, and nobody told my parents I had to have other things besides English and music. So I ended up going to college in Scope Pro because I didn't have math, I didn't have science, I didn't know anything. Still don't. But the superintendent of the school, I still have that letter, wrote to the somehow the University of Colorado. My mother remembered we had people still in Denver. So if I wanted to go to family since I was 16, I could. So he said that she was very talented and she had other things. And so they took me right away. So I ended up majoring in music and stayed there a year. Then I transferred to the University of Oklahoma, where I graduated. And the music teacher of Dallas Independent Schools came in and interviewed and gave me a job right away. So since I graduated, I got to Dallas. So that's how I got.
Why did you switch to University of Oklahoma?
Oh, that's much too long to go.
Oh, okay, all right.
Much too long. No, I did good in school. I was a smart little girl, but you know,
Okay.
but it did. It worked. It worked out for me. I should have gone to University of Texas, but again, this famous music teacher didn't like University of Texas. She wanted me to go someplace else. But my parents wanted me to go with his family, so I ended up at Colorado then. So, anyway, I'll tell you later, Joe.
Okay. Okay.
So anyway, I got to Dallas when I was 20, started teaching public schools, and I did have a boyfriend in college that wanted me to learn to play bridge. So I learned to play bridge, and everybody at the sorority house, you couldn't leave the table unless you had a substitute for yourself. You know, it just went on constantly. I'm surprised any of us graduated. Anyway, I came to Dallas, and I did know one couple, and they invited me over to their house to play bridge. So I get there, and they said the only person I could get for a fourth is Mrs. Greenberg, who lives across the street. Do you mind going over there? So we walked across the street and played bridge with Sarah Greenberg. And at 11 o'clock, when he got off of work, he came home, and that's when I met him in his mother's kitchen.
Oh, boy.
Not very glamorous.
No, it's okay. Hey, a shidduch is a shidduch.
And his mom and dad were absolutely wonderful. And I have to tell the story of when I left the house that very first day, the very first evening of playing bridge. He showed me to the door, goodbye, you know, I was walking back across the street to get my car. And Charlie, his daddy, says, "Don't sue the city." I said, "What do you mean, don't sue the city?" "For building the sidewalk so close to your tush." So whoever sees this and knows Charlie Greenberg would know that that was him.
He was quite the comedian.
And they took wonderful care of me. I learned to cook from Sarah, because my mother couldn't cook. And,
Where was the rest of your family at this time?
okay, they're still in Odessa.
They were all in
Oh,
Odessa.
now, I think the grandparents moved to a big town called Wink, Texas, which is 30 miles north. And they would go there like every Sunday on this Allfield Road, which was a 2-lane highway, but nothing around there. And they got tired of driving. So at the age of 12, they taught me how to drive, and I would drive them to Wink. Yeah, there was no cars in the road.
No cars.
There was nothing there. And I did learn how to drive 5 on the floor, or whatever young people like.
Yeah.
So, no, they stayed there. Eventually, after my grandfather died, the grandmother moved in with Essie, my aunt. And by then, she had married this guy. And this guy was uncle's favorite. And they were in business. They started off in the furniture business while they were still in East Texas. My daddy could do anything with his hands. I would come into Dallas and pick up and buy old furniture. He'd fix it up and sell it. So they were in the furniture business the whole time. And then right after the war, as soon as he could, he applied for a broadcasting license and started an AM radio station. So he had an application out for some broadcasters in the Chicago paper. So Roy Elstner, the uncle, answered the ad. He said he had 2 jobs offered, He said Odessa was 30 cents an hour more, so he took that. And that's how he met Essie, and they were married.
Yeah.
They were, and I keep saying, how come I don't remember that much about independence of Israel, but they were married on Israel's Independence Day in 1948.
Oh boy.
So evidently this daytime wedding, and
Mhm.
news, I was 16, I didn't know the difference. But
Did your parents ever move here?
no,
No.
no. No, the only parents I had here were Marvin's parents. So he was away. And then my only brother was in college at the time that my mom died. And he was in college in El Paso. And so he just stayed on in college and was getting a master's degree, met a lovely El Paso woman. And so he lived there till he passed away.
How long after you guys met did you actually get married?
3 months.
Just 3 months later.
Well, we
Wow.
met in October. Met in October, we got married in February.
Oh.
We just had a 63rd anniversary.
Nothing like a shotgun wedding.
It'll never last. It will never last.
And look, here you are.
Yeah, yeah.
How many years have you been married?
63,
Hmm.
2 weeks ago.
Mazel tov. And when you were here as a young married couple, what kind of things did you get involved in? In the community, civic-wise, Jewish-wise, whatever you'd like to tell us.
Well, I think Marvin's parents belonged to Sheriff. And 6 months after we got married, he got drafted in the Army, so we were gone for a little while. And then when we came back, I guess I was pregnant with Marla when I came back. And he had me come to Dallas every weekend. And when it came close to the time, he said, you stay in Dallas, because in the military, they really didn't have obstetricians. They just said, you're a doctor, you're a pediatrician, you're a dermatologist, whatever. And the doctor told me, he said, I will let you know I am Catholic, and if it's a choice of saving your life with the babies, I save the baby.
Mm.
So I came home crying. He said, well, you stay in Dallas. You know. So then it turned out that he did get an early release, so we got to stay in Dallas anyway. So
Okay.
that's how we got there. And I guess we must not have wanted, we probably went to Shul with his parents, because we didn't join anything until Marla was 5. And then when Marla was 5, we joined Sheriff. She had Bess Mesh for her Sunday school teacher, Bess Cohen
Mhm.
for, so she went through the whole thing. And then after Marla came Stephen, 3 or 4 years later, and after that came Barry. So they all went through the whole Sheriff Israel bit.
Were you involved in any organizations as a young
I
woman
was
here?
at Sheriff Sisterhood, just when
Mm.
Sisterhood did everything. And at the time they had one president and 5 or 6 vice presidents. So you went through all the steps of vice president. And when I realized that they gave the president a free telephone because she was on call all the time, and I was still working with Martin, I thought, I can't do that. So we were active as Sheriff. And then, and actually we joined a little shul out in the White Rock area. I can't remember the name of it, but because we lived, right past White Rock Lake in our GI house.
It wasn't Beth Israel, was it? That was further east. Was it Beth Israel? Oh, okay. That's where my husband's family.
Anyway, we were there. Then when Marla came along, I'm looking at this thing, and I said, here they have teachers who are just people like me that knows nothing, and why don't we go to a professional Sunday school? Maybe she can learn. And really, she's taught me everything, because we didn't have a show in Odessa for a long time.
Mhm.
Until I was, actually, when Essie got married, they had just built one. But
Were you still teaching music or doing music at that time?
no, I just taught for a couple of years after we were married. And when I went to the Army, that was
Mhm.
the end of that. And then we came back, I had the little one, and we didn't have time.
What was your husband doing at that point?
He had graduated as a pharmacist from the University of Texas, and he was working. He had an employer, and he worked with this one guy for, I don't know how many years, 5 or 6. I couldn't have been over 6, because when Marla was in kindergarten, I would pick her up and take her to our drugstore. By then he had bought a drugstore
Okay.
on Inwood Road, Inwood and Lover's Lane. I think there's a restaurant there now,
Hmm.
just south of Lover's Lane.
Okay. How many years were you at that location?
2 or 3, and then his original job when he first got out of college was at a drugstore called Stovall's, which was in the corner of Northwest Highway and Preston Road. And then after Mr. Stovall died, after we already had this other store, she called Marvin and said, I want to sell this store, do you want to buy it? So he knew that was really a better location than the Lover's Lane location. So he bought that, so we had 2 stores for a while.
Oh,
Running around. And that really kept you busy. And for somebody who couldn't even count, I became bookkeeper. He was brave. And, but I had an hand machine. Everything worked out.
Tell me a little bit about what the early days, well, I say early days of Dallas, the early days that you were here in Dallas. What was the city like back then? Can you describe that to me?
Probably not. When I was teaching, I had teaching music. You had to go to several different schools, so I saw several different schools. But our big treat was for the girls, my friends would go downtown to Neiman's for lunch or something. You know, took Marla there one time, and in her high chair she spilled. I'm telling on a glass of milk over the neighbors next door, Vicuña coat. And so it was like $20 to clean her coat at Neiman's, which was a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Most time.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so I'm trying to think. I guess I did sisterhood when I kid. I think Bess Cohen called Marvin and said, "You got to make your wife a member of sisterhood." Well, nobody could turn down Bess, so he did. And that got me started with that. And we'd go to Fair Park was a museum. We always liked art. And I guess what we did was work and take care of the children. I don't remember. I think his mother belonged to Hadassah, so I had to join Hadassah. And a group called AMIT, A-M-I-T.
Meet Women. Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. And these were all charity groups, you know, which was fine. But I don't remember going to too many of the actual meetings.
Mm-hmm. How have you seen the city grow since you've been here?
Well, my first apartment was on Northwest Highway in Hillcrest. A bunch of apartments there. My roommate and I had a upstairs apartment with a little porch. And we would turn to the right to face Northwest Highway. And at that corner there at Northwest Highway in Hillcrest was a drive-in movie theater.
Oh.
And so we would watch the movies from our porch. Once or twice it got interesting enough, we actually got in the car and went to hear it. You know, because we would see that.
Is it now where Temple Emmanuel is?
No, across
standing?
the street.
Across the street.
Across the
Okay.
street, I think it's a filling station or something like that. But that was there, and then they had a big boy hamburger place there.
Kips.
They had a beautiful furniture store that Howard, not Golden, Coleman. But I can't remember the name of it. Gorgeous contemporary furniture store in that area.
Hmm.
And then pretty soon El Phoenix got there.
Yeah.
So this was a long time. And we would look out the window at the store on Preston Road and look north, and there's nothing there. Where this house is now was a horse farm.
Oh my.
So it's grown.
Oh yeah.
It's grown.
How have you seen, specifically if you have seen, the Jewish community change over the years, in your opinion?
I haven't seen. Of course, it got huge.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, outside of the
Size-wise.
size, outside of the size,
Mm-hmm.
and I guess through the show, we became friends with our children's parents. You know, and so we had that together. But meanwhile, everything still went on. Everybody still had their meetings and still had their contributions to whatever they wanted.
Since your kids are, well, tell me a little bit about how your family has grown.
Okay. Well, Marla was first, although she won't claim that. And then, then Stephen, and then Barry. And we had to move from our house, original house, a little Lakewood house, back over to this neighborhood because it was too far from where we'd have to drive, for me to drive to keep books and take care of the children. So we moved over to a house in Wagner, in Preston, and stayed there for 5 years. Meanwhile, his mom had died, I guess. And so he was by himself, so we decided we needed to move, so we built this house, and back there was going to be, by the time the house got finished, he had married again. So he was the sweetest guy. Sweetest guy. Anyway, so I mean, the kids were all great. They went, Marlon went to Pershing, and the other kids went here to Preston Hollow. They all three went to Hillcrest. They all three graduated from the University of Texas. They all three were, Marla was in SDT, Stephen was in CBT, Barry was in AEPI. And that was a little confusing because they only had one tuxedo between the two boys. And only Stephen's final year, they had their proms on the same night.
Oh,
So,
boy. What did they do?
so-
Run back and forth, borrowing?
No, he got to Steve, the older one, got to rent one. He got to rent a new one.
Okay.
But meanwhile, they had contributed. Barry, bless his heart, got married first. He was 3 or 4 months younger than 25, and when they went on the honeymoon, they wouldn't let him rent a car.
He was too young.
Too young.
Where did he end up living?
They stayed in Dallas.
He's
from
here?
at first. They stayed in Dallas. They had 2 gorgeous boys, and then he was in finance with stockbroker, and some stockbroker in Nashville persuaded them to move there. They loved Nashville, and that stock brokerage got bought up by another stock brokerage, and they wanted him to move to, I think, Minnesota or someplace. And meanwhile, evidently there are people who solicit these people. And he got solicited for a place in California. So he and the 2 boys, his wife and 2 boys, all moved to a town right outside of Oakland, Walnut Creek, California, which is beautiful.
Beautiful.
And then that stockbroker got bought up, and again, he said, if I have to start all over, I'm going to start back in Dallas. So, meanwhile, one of the better things, while he was out there, they adopted a baby girl from Korea.
Oh.
And she just now became a freshman at Pierce High School. You know,
So they live in Richardson?
they live in Richardson, Campbell, and Hillcrest. And both boys will graduate from college this year. The older one went to Israel for a year to join the IDF. And he actually endured it there, but he could not learn the language in time. So they offered him to stay, we need workers, but he didn't want to stock warehouses. He wanted to really, become a military man. So he ended up 1 year behind. And he goes to Stephen F. Austin in Nacogdoches in the ROTC. And he will graduate in when he said it was going to be in law enforcement, I thought that meant he was going to be a lawyer. But it means he's going to be in the military or the police or whatever he wants is fine. And then the younger boys in Savannah, the School of Art and Design, he's in film. And he also plays the drums, punk rock. He spent all of his bar mitzvah money on a set of drums that's bigger than this room. And he graduates this year. And then Marla's daughter graduates this year. So we had 4 within 2 years, 4 grandchildren.
You're going to be busy.
I know. Well, we went to one graduation last year in Florida. Steve, he did go. The middle kid did move to Florida. He went to medical school here at Dallas, and he did his residency in Tampa. And they offered him a position before he graduated, so he stayed. Met a darling little girl. They have 2 sons. One just graduated, and
A lot of simchas, a lot of good things.
oh, wonderful things.
Wonderful,
things.
wonderful. So your family's grown quite a bit.
6 grandchildren. Well, it's grown even more since Marla remarried. Now she has 3 more children, which gives us some more grandchildren and 2 baby great-grandbabies.
Oh,
And they want to be
wonderful.
cuter than little 1 4-year-old girls,
Besides your family, which I'm sure you're busy with, what else have you gotten involved in later on in life?
I started taking art lessons at the JCC.
And I see what's behind you there. Tell us what that is.
I'll show you.
Okay. Go ahead.
This is a picture of Lake Tahoe. The picture was taken with a camera, and then I brought it home and painted that.
Beautiful.
Marvin's favorite picture.
Very pretty.
It,
Are you still involved with things at the
yes,
JCC?
Yes.
What else what have you done there?
But, well, we do exercise. And I really don't, I just do the art. We eat lunch there occasionally. We swim 3 times a week in the warm water pool, which is so good. If you have arthritis, try to find time to go in. Makes everything feel better.
That's true. Is there anything else that, I know a good question. Along the years, is there anybody here that you feel has been a role model for you? Somebody that you really looked up to, coming here as a young adult?
I guess it's just my husband and I.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's
I
fine.
mean, of course, the rabbis,
Yeah, yeah.
and we've had several rabbis.
Good ones. Besides your family, which everybody usually says my family, but what else can you think of that you're the most proud of at this point?
Besides the family.
Besides the family. I mean, you did a great job with them.
Yeah, I started to say, I'm trying to think.
Yeah.
At this point, it's very difficult because at this point, I'm 85, and most of my close bridge playing, I play bridge, most of my bridge playing friends have caused us to get new players, you know.
Huh?
And so, but I'm just proud of being able to live and be healthy and do the things we like. We have symphony tickets, season symphony tickets. We belong to every museum in town.
Mm-hmm.
And we do, but it's still family.
It's okay.
It's still
That's all right.
family.
Is there anything you can think of that you'd like to add that I haven't asked?
I'll probably think about it after you're gone. And we have had some nice trips. I have enjoyed those.
And I know you've made some terrific friends along the way.
Oh, yeah.
Probably lifelong friends since you've been here, right? Are you still keep in touch with some of those people?
Mhm.
That's what I figured.
Yeah, they're all. Yeah, I don't remember any friends left in Odessa because I left at 16.
Mm-hmm.
And I was one of the, this was 1948. There's very few who even graduate high school. Or no, they graduated high school, most of them, but they didn't go on to college.
Mm-hmm.
And then we just went off. And I went to, I joined a Jewish sorority in college. I'd never had any Jewish classmates in Odessa. I think my last year, another girl moved into town. But
Are you in touch with, or do you see the Elsners here? The ones that live here?
They're both deceased.
What about their children?
Oh, the children,
Are
yeah,
they-
I see them. I see them. One is Philip and one is Susan. Susan and Marla are about the same age. And actually, Marla's 1 year older, which Susan tells her every year in her birthday card. And I see Philip, but yeah, Roy passed away a couple of years ago. Essie and Roy moved from Odessa to Dallas for medical reasons.
Oh, okay.
And Essie died about a year after she got here. And,
Yeah.
and Philip's kids are all grown and graduated from college.
Hmm.
And Susan, one's still in college, I think, and one is working. But you know, they're fine. I don't see them as much as I used to, but we do see them.
That's good. Okay. Well, this has been wonderful. I appreciate it. I'm moving on to your husband now.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.